All right, what's going on, everybody? So, how's it going, Temujin, Uncle Ho, Union Army Ball, American Dissident? I appreciate y'all joining me. We're going to go over this video from Liberty Sanity Project. As you know, Liberty Sanity Project, of course, was the one who was involved with Kraut to, dox, the alt-right and try to set up the Discord server and all that shit. That was the dude that he was. So the thing is that he's still putting out content. This is the most super cringy, neocon sort of content that I can think of. But man, we're going to do it. Oi, Joey, what's going on? So let's just get into this bullshit, man, because this is some, I watched this through once to make sure, but he just does a lousy job of defending imperialism in any sort of form. So let's go ahead and watch this, because this is wild, man. There we go. And there we go. Okay. Let's do it.
In June 1941, during the festival of Shavuot, a mob of Arab soldiers and tribesmen led a pogrom in the Jewish quarter of Baghdad, murdering well over 180 men, women, and children. The pogrom, known locally...
His voice is so annoying. I'm sure that people have said that over and over, but it's like the most nasally sort of voice. It's like, this dude lives in Texas, too. I don't have anything against this dude personally, but holy moly. His voice just, drives people up the wall. Go ahead.
As the Fahud was documented by the late Baghdadi Jew and Middle East specialist L.A. Qadiri in his 1970 book, The Chatham House Version in the Other Middle Eastern Studies. Qadiri blamed British authorities for failing to protect the Jews, despite having taken over responsibility for Mesopotamia from the Ottoman Empire more than 2 decades earlier. He explained that the Jews could cheerfully acknowledge the right of conquest, whether exercised by the Ottomans or by the British, because their history has taught them that there lay safety. But the British failure to enforce the law and provide imperial order was the kind of transgression that ethnic and religious minorities could ill afford. Traditionally, imperialism itself, most notably that of Habsburg and the Ottomans, had protected minorities.
So he talks about the Habsburgs quite a bit in this video, says it in very loose terms, and focuses on the American Empire as well. Does not talk about the Romans, does not talk about the Ottoman Empire. Only pretty much the Habsburgs and the American Empire. Remember that. So once again, already, he is narrowing the focus because he knows if he talked about the Ottoman Empire and everything that they did, he would lose. If he went into deeper detail about the British, he talks about the British Empire as well, kind of very, very opaquely. But yeah, let's go ahead and continue.
From the tyranny of the majority. It wasn't imperialism per se that Qadiri railed against, but weak and ineffectual imperialism. To be sure, the British had their hands full in Mesopotamia in 1941, given the tendency of Arab masses towards anti-Western and anti-Zionist ideologies, a tendency that was itself, at least in part, a reaction to British dominance. Colonial authorities worked desperate to keep Nazi influence out of the Middle East. As a result, the British ambassador...
Okay. So once again, I mean, this is... Okay, obviously, these are Bosnian SS troops. And of course, Bosnia was, of course, a country that was influenced by Islam because of the Ottoman Empire. And of course, the thing is that one of the interesting things, of course, when he talks about Iraq and this pogrom that occurred, is that Saddam Hussein's father, and I believe his uncle, I want to say his uncle, were also involved in these riots as well. This is something that I'm not too up on that history, unfortunately, but there's a lot of influence that went back and forth. The Germans, the Nazi regime reached out to everybody. They obviously reached out to British controlled India. They reached out to Iran. They reached out to Iraq. They reached out to Egypt as well. They reached out to these countries, and of course, some of the Nazis later went to Egypt to help out Abdel Nasser's regime, but that's a whole other story. But the thing is, though, he's already painting this in a very bad way, and it kind of, his outright, I'll explain a little bit later. Let's go ahead and continue.
Opted for a lighter hand when at certain points he ought to have used a heavier one. Be that as it may, what is not an issue, as Kaderi correctly stated, is the responsibility that conquest historically carries with it. Throughout history, governance and relative safety have most often been provided by empires, Western or Eastern. Anarchy reigned in the interregnums. To wit,
thing is, notice he doesn't say he says Western or Eastern. Which kind of implies that China is actually doing benevolent things. But he doesn't say that. He just spends his time talking mostly about the American Empire, talking about the the British Empire, and talking about the Habsburgs, protecting minorities. That's funny as hell. But yeah, okay, go ahead.
British may have failed in Baghdad, Palestine, and elsewhere, but the larger history of the British Empire is one of providing
the British may have failed in Baghdad, Palestine. Once again, it's interesting to me how he will start this video talking about a pogrom against Jews in Baghdad and will ignore the Zionists, the groups like Irgun, who were fighting the British Empire, who were killing British troops, who captured 2 British sergeants in the Sergeants' Affair in retaliation for the British capturing 3 Irgun fighters who were hung. This to me is just cognitive dissonance, to be like, well, I'm going to talk about Israel and Jews, but then talking about Zionism in Israel, no, let's not, the cognitive dissonance is amazing. But go ahead, continue.
Vast armature of stability, fostered by sea and rail communications, where before there had been demonstrably less stability. In fact, as the Harvard historian Niall Ferguson has argued, the British Empire enabled a late 19th and early 20th century form of globalization, tragically interrupted by a worldwide depression, 2 world wars, and a Cold War. After that, a new form of globalization took root, made possible by an American naval and air presence across large swaths of the earth, a presence of undeniably imperial dimensions. Globalization depends upon secure sea lines of communication for trade and energy transfers. Without the U.S. Navy, there would be no globalization. No Davos, period. But imperialism is now seen by the global elites as altogether evil, despite...
The thing is, he just, like I say, I could just be angry at the premise of this, but he does such a lousy job at arguing it. Okay, he says, oh, well, things were, there was a sort of globalization where, these empires built stuff and, everything else like that. They made things better. Do you think that was for the average person? It's like, do you think that those, those huge buildings and those huge roads in, in India were built out of the goodness of the British heart? No, it was seen as a way to escape the humdrum, droll life in England. Hold on. That's what it was. There's such an oversimplification to be like, well, yeah, I was actually there to help the people. Most of the folks didn't have the ability to use it. So yeah, this is go ahead. But he says, oh, but imperialism is a bad thing now. Go ahead.
Empires having offered the most benign form of order for thousands of years, keeping the anarchy of ethnic, tribal, and sectarian war bands to a reasonable minimum. Compared with imperialism, democracy is a new and uncertain phenomenon. Even the two most estimable democracies in modern history, the United States and Great Britain, were empires for long periods. As both a dream and a fact, the American Empire was born before the United States, writes the mid-20th century historian of westward expansion Bernard de Watteau. Following their initial settlement and before their incorporation as states, the Western territories were nothing less than imperial possessions of Washington, D.C.
Oh my goodness. This is ridiculous, yeah. Hey, what's going on, some Northern Nationals? Yeah, they're Western, so it's okay for him. Yeah, exactly. I still want to annex Greenland. I ironically support it. All right, yeah. Manifest destiny in globalist. Yeah. LOL. Exactly, yeah. Anglos have never massacred anyone, according to him, I guess. Apparently not. Yeah, apparently not. I mean, this is just... oh, my goodness. This guy, huh? This guy. All right, go ahead.
No surprise there. Imperialism confers a loose and accepted form of sovereignty, occupying a middle ground between anarchy and full state control. Ancient empires such as Rome, or the Archimede Persians, or the Mauryan Indian, or the Han China may have been cruel beyond measure, but they were less cruel and delivered more predictability for the average person than did anything beyond their borders.
So once again, so it sounds like he supports current day China helping African countries. That's what it sounds like to me. So he supports China. Oh, cool. I'm glad you support China then. Okay. Go ahead, though. He's going to say, well, those older empires, they actually help, but the current China is evil for reasons. Okay.
Who says imperialism is necessarily reactionary? Athens, Rome, Venice, and Great Britain were the most enlightened regimes of their day. True, imperialism has often been driven by a pursuit of riches, but that pursuit has in many cases resulted in hard-earned cosmopolitanism.
Yes, cosmopolitanism is a good thing. It doesn't come from, just golly. I mean, I can't really fathom this, because it's just like, while I'll give him this. He has some point in, for people to actually learn other languages. I'll give him that, to try to codify them so other people can understand it. Okay. But the problem is that when he talks about cosmopolitanism, that's not really a positive thing. I mean, at the end of the day, these are not good things, basically. It's just like hard won, cosmopolitanism and whatnot. So basically it's saying that, rape and, massacres and, invasions and having to put down certain groups and everything else is actually okay. And I know people are going to say, how can you defend China, but you're going to say people are putting... Look, I'm a hypocrite, all right? I don't care. But the thing is, it's just... this, okay, I can't. Go ahead.
The early modern empires of Habsburg Austria and Ottoman Turkey were well known for the relative tolerance and protection of minorities.
I know it's you, Peter
including
Bissell.
the Jews.
I do.
Precisely because the Habsburg imperialists governed a melange of ethnic and religious groups stretching from the edge of the Swiss Alps to central Romania, and from the Polish Carpathians to the Adriatic Sea, they abjured ethnic nationalism and sought a universalism almost postmodern in its design. What followed the Habsburgs were mono-ethnic states and quasi-democracies that persecuted minorities and helped ease the path of Nazism.
Really? Okay. I'd love some backup here. This is like, okay. Once again, though, it's just... So is this a defense of monarchy here? Are we going to... Golly. The thing is, once again, I'm no expert on the Habsburg Empire, but it's like, are you really going to say... And to be fair, I will give him some credit here. is Gavrilo Princip, the Serbian nationalist, I believe, who did execute Archduke Franz Ferdinand, was treated fairly well and was in jail and everything else, and died, I think, in 1916, I want to say. Let me look up Gavrilo Princip right quick. Let me make sure I got that correct. Yeah. Let me make sure here. Gavrilo Princip. 1918, excuse me. Yeah, okay, so yeah. Yeah, Bosnian Serb, young Bosnian, arrest and trial. So this is the argument to say, well, even a guy that killed one of our monarchs was actually, a good guy. I mean, they treated him well. Princip attempted to shoot himself, but the pistol was wrestled from his hand before he had a chance to fire another shot. At his trial, he said he regretted the killing of the Duchess and meant to kill Potiorek, but was nonetheless proud of what he had done. He further said that I am a Yugoslav nationalist, aiming for the unification, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's get to the chase. Princip was 19 years old at the time and too young to receive the death penalty, as he was 27 days shy of the 20-year minimum age required by Habsburg law. Okay, so he was chained to a wall in solitary confinement. That sounds good, doesn't it? That sounds good. Where he lived in harsh conditions and suffered from tuberculosis. The disease ate away his bones so badly that his right arm had to be amputated. Princip unsuccessfully attempted to hang himself with a towel. From February to June 1916, Princip, with Martin Pappenheim, a psychiatrist in the Austro-Hungarian army, met with Martin Pappenheim, a psychiatrist in the Austro-Hungarian army, 4 times. Pappenheim wrote that Princip believed the World War was bound to happen independent of his actions and that he cannot feel himself responsible for the catastrophe. Gavrilo Princip died on April 28, 1918, 3 years and 10 months after the assassination. At the time of his death, weakened by malnutrition and disease. I'm going to have to be cringe here and say this. I would have rather been executed than have to deal with that sort of pain. I'm sorry. Damn. Fearing his bones might become relics for Slavic nationalists, Princip's prison guards secretly took the body to an unmarked grave, but a Czech soldier assigned to the burial remembered the location, and in 1920, Princip and the other heroes of Vidovdan were exhumed and brought to Sarajevo, where they were buried together beneath the Vidovdan Heroes Chapel, built to commemorate for eternity our Serb heroes at the Holy Archangel Cemetery, which includes a citation from the Montenegrin poem Diego's, Blessed is he who lives forever. He had something to be born for. Interesting.
All of these empires delivered more peace and stability than the United Nations ever has or possibly could.
Woo! Sorry there. I blew out my mic there. Okay. Woo! Oh man. So this guy says has delivered more peace and stability than the UN ever could. Wow. So when the British were in Palestine, they sure as hell did deliver a lot of peace and stability, didn't they? Those Irgun fighters who were shooting them, the fact that, you had the Egyptian military there, Abdel Nasser in Palestine fighting. Man, that was a hell of a lot of stability. And I know he's going to say that's a straw man argument, but it's like, oh man, he's not doing a good job. I'm sorry. It's like if you wanted to make imperialism cool, okay, but he's going about it from the wrong angle. Like, well, actually, they bring about freedom and stability. It's like, yeah, but people have to get killed for that freedom and stability. So, I don't know.
Consider, too, the American example. The humanitarian interventions in Bosnia and Kosovo, and the absence of such intervention in Rwanda and Syria, show American imperialism in action and in abeyance. This interpretation of empire is hardly novel. Indeed, it is captured in Rudyard Kipling's famous 1899 poem, The White Man's Burden, which is not, as is commonly assumed, a declaration of racist aggression, but of the need for America to take up the cause of humanitarianism and good government.
Rudyard Kipling was a Brit, so I think he's talking about British imperialism, but okay.
In the Philippines at the turn of the 20th century.
Oh, is that what he was talking about?
From Rome's widespread offer of citizenship to its subject peoples, to France's offer of a measure of equality to fluent Francophone Africans, to Britain's arrangements of truces among the Yemeni tribes, to the epic array of agricultural and educational services.
Truces among Yemeni tribes. That's interesting, especially considering the Sunni Shia split that occurred centuries ago. That when the lines were divided, when these great big-brained imperialists divided these areas up and created all this tension, between Syria, between Jordan, between Iraq, all these separations created by the Brits mostly, these random lines on a map. That was a great idea, wasn't it? But yeah, imperialism, huh? Go ahead.
Provided by the Europeans throughout their tropical domains. Britain's Indian civil service stands out. Imperialism and enlightenment, albeit self-interested, have often been inextricable. However patronizing this may sound, the European imperialist could be eminently practical men, becoming proficient at the native languages and enhancing area expertise. Nazis and communists, by contrast, were imperialists only secondarily. They were primarily radical utopians who sought racial and ideological submission. Thus, critique.
Okay, so he's taking up kind of the line that a lot of conservatives use. And I'm talking, when I say conservatives, I mean people like Leo Strauss, who I need to read more about, because I do have a book of his in there. But Leo Strauss talks about this, where basically, and I've heard even people like E. Michael Jones have said this too, is basically they say that, National Socialism and Communism are the same in many ways. They're progressive, forms and everything else that wanted to transfer, that wanted to change things different ways, And I guess you could kind of make that argument, but it's too, it's one of those horseshoe theory type of arguments once again.
That imperialism constitutes evil and nothing more is, broadly speaking, lazy and ahistorical. Dependent as it is often on the very worst examples, such as the Belgians in the 19th century Congo and the
once again, I was thinking this in my head right when he said that about the Belgians in the Congo. I'm like, yeah, that was pretty awful what King Leopold did. That was pretty awful, having folks that were, chopping hands off this and that, or the Boer Wars. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and become a Wignat, full-on Wignat or something like that. Because, of course, as the picture shows, yeah, even the Nazis used, the Boers to try to create tension. They reach out to them, too. But the thing is, yeah, I mean, let's be honest here, okay? The fact is that, yeah, you notice that he doesn't want to bring up the Boer Wars because he knows better. But the thing is, he's being very, very cherry picky, isn't he? He's just choosing these little things and says, oh, look at all the infrastructure that was built in these different countries and whatnot. Oh, okay, then you must support what China's doing then. Okay. I mean, if you support Chinese imperialism, oh, okay. I mean, that's fine. But yeah.
Discussions throughout modern history of Eurasia. Nevertheless, the critique that imperialism...
Let's take a look at these comments here right quick. Yeah. He isn't really wrong about the UN. It's just another side of the same coin. There's a problem with empires. You can't expect everyone to get along. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Here's an example of British peace and stability. Yeah. Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Oh, really? Huh. Yeah, liberal version of anti-UN. Yeah, exactly. Well, the Habsburgs were just a progressive empire. Okay, so we're just going to ignore all the ethnic conflict and tension. That exactly. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I'm going to go ahead and let y'all talk about that, but here we go.
Constitutes bad American foreign policy has serious merit. The real problem with imperialism is not that it is evil, but rather that it is too expensive and therefore a problematic grand strategy for a country like the United States. Many an empire
Well, the
has
thing is that, when you want to talk about imperialism, and of course, a lot of MLs and anarchists to a point are correct on this point, where if things are bad in the imperial core, this is the same thing kind of what people would say about the Roman Empire. If things are bad in the imperial core, then things aren't good anywhere. That's the whole thing. And things are getting worse in the imperial core. Fact is that Joe Biden, or at least his presidency, is asking for $2 billion, when in actuality, you need about $4 billion. And I'm taking this from other people, so take it with a grain of salt, to to update our infrastructure, roads and railways and everything else, to get everything up to snuff. The fact is that the U.S. government, the federal government, is not capable of that. The U.S. government is going to continue to fall further and further and further behind. That's the fact of the matter. You can have people like Biden who are trying to make these deals and everything else like that, but this is the whole thing ultimately with liberalism and with social democracy, is that it's all about promises and to say, well, they were going to do this, they were going to do that. Yeah, but they never did, because they didn't have the power to, and it was always about compromise and to try and keep everybody happy. You're never going to make everybody happy. But the fact is, though, is that, when you can't, beyond racial lines, beyond anything else, is that when you can't provide basic services, when you can't provide for, interstate or interstate, highways or whatever the case may be, you're starting to lose people, when people are now, a lot of people are out of work. And, we see that life expectancy has gone down by 4 years. That's not good, And of course, he's not even mentioning this. These are folks that live in La La Land here. They really do. They live in La La Land. There is no leader in the United States, at least on this horizon, through traditional means, through the Democratic Republican parties, that has the strength or the will to make sweeping changes, in my opinion. They do not. They do not have the power or the will to make these sweeping changes. They just don't. So it's nice for you to say this stuff about defensive imperialism, but it's just too little too late.
Collapse because of the burden of conquest. It is one thing to acknowledge the positive attributes of Rome and Habsburg Austria. It's quite another to justify every military intervention that is considered by elites in Washington. Thus, the debate Americans should be having is the following. Is an imperial-like foreign policy sustainable? I use the term imperial-like because while the United States has no colonies, its global...
Let's stop right there. Okay. So he says the U.S. doesn't have colonies. Okay. People would say, well, we have this territory, if we want to be specific about it, called Puerto Rico, just off the coast there, that would technically be considered it's called a U.S. territory, so that's technically a colony. The Philippines was one until, there were a lot of revolts and everything else like that in the 1920s. You do have, this is just very, once again, leaves a lot of holes here.
Responsibilities, particularly in the military sphere, burden it with the expenses and frustrations of empires of old. Caution, those who say such a foreign policy is unsustainable are not necessarily isolationists. Alas, isolationism is increasingly used as a slur against those who might only be recommending restraint in certain circumstances. Once that caution is acknowledged, the debate gets really interesting.
See, it gets harder for people like this, for neoconservative type of talking points like LSP is pushing for, and what people like, I imagine, Superpower Broadcasting. It's legitimately been a while, because I'm no longer subscribed to that person. to continue to defend their points. We see even with Reese with Spooky Nookies on there. And he's like, well, actually, Kissinger isn't a neocon. They'll say Kissinger isn't a neocon. John Bolton isn't really a neocon. And it's like, really? He's not a neocon. Kissinger isn't a neocon. Who is a neocon? And they have to admit the fact that there aren't any real neocons. And they will continue to try to deliver these old, worn-out messages that somehow people just think, somehow if we just allow these things to occur and we just allow, big government to come in or, allow, capitalism to be involved, eventually things will get better. Things will, somehow just become better. And it just doesn't. And these are unfortunately diehard folks that are true believers. And they will find a way to cope. It's unfortunate. And you can't argue with these folks. You can't reason with them. You can't deal with them. They're like a machine. And all you can do is just be like, okay, bye. And that's what, and this is at the point I'm at with people like this.
To repeat the critique of imperialism as expensive and unsustainable is not easily dismissed. As for the critique that imperialism merely constitutes evil, while that line of thinking is not
really?
serious,
okay.
it does get a crucial logic regarding the American experience. That logic goes like this. America is unique in history. The United States may have strayed into empire during the Spanish-American War of 1898 and the resultant war in the Philippines, and it may have become an imperial leviathan of sorts in the wake of World War II. At root, however, the United States was never meant to be an empire, but rather the proverbial city on a hill, offering an example to the rest of the world rather than sending its military in search of dragons to slay. This, as it happens, is more or less the position of the Obama administration. The first post-imperial American presidency since World War II telegraphs nothing so much as exhaustion with world affairs. Obama essentially wants regional powers such as Japan and Asia and Saudi Arabia and Israel and the Middle East to rely less on the United States in maintaining local power balances. And he wants to keep America's enemies at bay through the use of inexpensive drones rather than the deployment of ground forces. Secretary of State John Kerry's energetic diplomacy vis-a-vis Iran and Israel-Palestine might seem like a brave effort to set the Middle East house in order, thereby facilitating the so-called American pivot to Asia, and yet Kerry appears to be neglecting Asia in the meantime. And no one believes that Iran, Israel, or Palestine
pretty strong
will
in the
suffer negative consequences from the U.S. if negotiations fail. Once lifted, the toughest sanctions on Iran just will not be reinstated. Israel can always depend on its legions of support in Congress, and the Palestinians have nothing to fear from Obama. The dread of imperial-like retribution that accompanied Henry Kissinger's 1970 shuttle diplomacy in the Middle East is nowhere apparent.
Once again, yeah, Kissinger. Yeah, such a great guy. Yeah. Okay.
Kerry, unlike Kissinger, has articulated no grand strategy or even a basic strategic conception. Rather than Obama's post-imperialism, in which the Secretary of State appears like a lonely and wayward operator encumbered by an apathetic White House, I maintain that a tempered imperialism is now more preferable. No other power or constellation of powers is able to provide even a fraction of the global order provided by the United States. U.S. air and sea dominance preserves the peace, such as it exists, in Asia.
It's so ridiculous when he brings up the U.S. military because of this. This is all I need to do. This is the only picture I need to bring up, isn't it? Let me see if I can, let's see here. Can I zoom? Let me see here. I'll zoom in with this here. There we go. So there we go. You see this guy right here, right next to the Marine captain? This is the military as it is right now. You know, we see fat lieutenant. Let's see here. I'm going to see if I can find it. Let's see. Yeah, these. I'm trying to show the. I'm trying to find the picture of that lieutenant in Washington D.C. who, I mean, she was just holding like Chick-fil-A or something like that. I mean, it's just absolute pitiful. But okay, I can't find it. All right, but nonetheless, this is the whole thing. And of course, now of course we have the military is on a search for anyone that's racist, and they're going to kick them out. Feel as you want to or whatnot, but the thing is that that's kind of how the military is, man.
In the Greater Middle East, American military forces, reasonably deployed, is what ultimately protects democracies' diverse.
Reasonably deployed. What does that mean? Reasonably deployed. Being in Afghanistan for 20 years? Is that reasonable? I don't know about that.
Versus Poland, Israel, and Taiwan from being overrun by enemies. If America sharply retrenched its air and sea...
Poland, Taiwan. It's interesting. You were praising the older Chinese empires, but now you want to shit on the modern Chinese because reasons. That's interesting. Of course, considering, of course, the fact that the island of Taiwan, of course, had its own indigenous people that were kicked off because of the influx of mainland Chinese folks who left, who were part of the Kuomintang and supported, the nationalists who came to the island and slowly, got rid of the people. That's a whole other thing. And of course, Japanese rule, but yeah, it's more complicated, but go ahead.
Sea forces, while starving its land forces of adequate supplies and training, the world would be far more anarchic place with adverse repercussions for the American homeland. Rome, Parthia, and Habsburg Austria were great precisely because they gave significant parts of the world a modicum of imperial order that they would not otherwise have enjoyed. America must presently do likewise, particularly...
I mean, the thing is, you say order. I mean, you could say the same thing about the German Democratic Republic if you want order. It's like, yeah, the Stasi did keep order. If you want to look at it that way, yeah, they kept order. It's just not the type of order that you like. That's the whole thing. I can't argue with these folks anymore.
In East Asia, the geographic heartland of the world economy and home of the American treaty allies.
Meal Team 6, yeah.
This, by no means, obliges the American military
will even
to
the same Chinese military
populous Islamic countries that lack critical components of civil society.
America
must roam the world with its ships and planes and be very wary of where it gets involved on the ground. And it must initiate military hostilities only when an overwhelming national interest is threatened. Otherwise, it should limit its involvement to economic inducements and robust diplomacy. Diplomacy that exerts every possible pressure in order to prevent widespread atrocities and...
Thing is, to me, this is too little, too late. If this video had come out maybe 20 years ago, this would be somewhat successful and somewhat, if he had written this as a paper, some neocon think tank, yeah, this would have been somewhat good. But honestly, it's too little, too late for that. The times have already changed. The shift has already changed. The U.S. is on the decline. I think everybody knows this. Everybody knows that the United States is on the decline. It is slowly going down, just kind of riding that elevator back on down, or riding that roller coaster back on down. We had that big old, we took our time coming up, but we're going down. It's going down. But it, so this is just too little, too late, frankly. Go ahead. Let's finish this up. Not too much longer.
Parts of the world, such as Central Africa, that are not
burger exceptionalism. Exactly.
Strategic. That, I submit, would be a policy direction that internalizes both the drawbacks and the benefits of imperialism, not as it has been conventionally thought of, but as it has actually been practiced throughout history.
What an annoying voice, though. I'm sorry. I keep on going on and on about that, but yeah. Should we watch the Imperial Renaissance video? Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at it. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Hold on, let me check this right quick. Oh, yeah, damn, you got me. Yeah. It's interesting. A lot of Vosh fans found this video too. That's hilarious. All right, let's go ahead and see what we got here. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Why not? Why not? Let's go ahead and take a look at this one. Okay, we're going to watch this one and then we're going to call it good. But yeah. Inquisitor Part 4. Oh, man. Okay. My headphones are going out, so god damn, it just sounds like static right now. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, this guy's already, it's barely a minute in, he's already using footage. Holy shit. Come on, man, you can't do that. Oh my goodness. Okay, here we go. The LARP gear. Okay. Let's take a look at the LARP gear. Hold on. Let's take a look at the LARP gear. Okay, so we've got obviously a plastic World War I German helmet. Okay, or an Austro-Hungarian helmet. Okay. We've got the LARP rifle. Okay. Oh yeah, that's definitely a World War I style, but that's obviously plastic. Okay. Oh, he's putting on the mask. Okay. Put the helmet back on. Oh, you can't do that. Okay. Okay. So he's trying to do like Platoon. I remember that movie well enough. Willem Dafoe, where he gets shot and he kind of puts his arms out and everything. That kind of reminds me of that. Okay, go ahead. All right. Once again, got the plastic weapon. I wonder what the neighbors think. Exactly. This is the finale, by the way. Thank God. Oh yeah.
This is command. How many survivors? Just me. Very well. Make your way back to the pickup point.
Oh yeah, my headphones are dying. I gotta get me some new ones tomorrow. Or better yet, let me see if I can keep this. Well, no, I'm not gonna do that. It takes too damn long. That is water. That is fully on water. He's reached rock bottom. Okay.
What are you doing? I saved you. I saved your life in the war. And this is how you repay. You give your life over to debauchery and drink.
Ooh, that's some good shaking. That's some good shaking, I'll give you that.
I have given you a blessing. And this is how you repay. Enough. Enough. Throw off this drink. Enough of your self-pity. Rise. Be the man I have called you to be.
Okay.
Enough of this sin. Rise.
Imagine the neighbors seeing this, though. No. No, don't misuse that music. Don't misuse the... I don't want to be... I'm trying to think of the meme. Hold on. I don't want to be horny anymore. I just want to be happy. That's it. Yeah. I don't want to be horny anymore. I just want to be happy. Y'all know that meme, right? Yeah. Leave the rosary out of this. Come on, man. Leave the rosary out.
I am the Lord, and you will do my will.
Wow. Okay. Oh man, he's got a claw. What, does he have armor? Okay. Lousy C96, okay. Okay.
It's been many years since that war.
I
am now an Inquisitor.
An
agent of the Divine Emperor Jesus Christ.
Oh boy.
The God King.
Okay.
Of this empire. I am an Inquisitor. I judge the guilty. And I carry out the sentence. This is my penance. The weight of the Inquisition crushes my shoulders. This is my penance.
Oh, wow. Oh, boy. Oh, wow. So tough. V for Vendetta. Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. This guy. His neighbors must think he's nuts. Yeah. Yes, he sort of is. Yeah.
I am an Inquisitor.
Oh, wow. Ooh, scary! Oh, scary! Well, there you go. Well, that was a great background, wasn't it? I like how his cloak is covered in lint. Yeah, exactly. Oh, Mwah. Oh, that was brilliant. You gotta love it. Yeah, with the dinosaurs. I mean, this. What else can be said, huh? What else can be said about this? Oh man. Golly. Oh, it's hilarious to see that. Yeah. Why do you put the title card at the end? A little odd. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. That's a good question, though. Yeah. Oh man, a lot of LARP. A lot of LARP. Oh man. Yeah. He's cool, isn't he, guys? Yeah. Golly. I mean, once again, I'll try to be polite though in this way, where it's like, look, we all have a LARPy stage. Don't get me wrong. I will tell you my LARPy stage just to get it out of my system. But it's like I had my LARP too. Don't get me wrong, where I had an old enlisted Marine Corps hat for and I remember I pinned it to look like oh, screw it. I'll just say it. A Waffen SS hat. Oh, my goodness. It was cringe. It was cringe. I can't believe I did it, but holy crap. You know, oh, man. It was, you know, so I had my time for LARP, too. The thing is, I just didn't record it. That's the difference. Let me see here. Okay, so let's see here. We're going to do this then for the outro. Let's go ahead and do that then. What is this? Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Hold on. Okay, let's go ahead and share it one more time. We'll go ahead and do this for the outro then, and we'll end it here. All right. Sorry. Yeah, it's going. Okay. See you later, Union Army Ball. Yep. God bless you all. Amen to that. There you go. All right. Boom. And a boom. All right. See you later, folks. Hope you'll have a good one. I'll be putting out an original video this time. Hopefully, y'all will enjoy that. So see you later. And bye-bye.